Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the Washington Commanders. I think this is one of the more under-recognized teams. They have an extremely talented defense. In fact, they ranked 7th this past year. The offense, a little bit more iffy, right? But this team went 8-1, and for a squad that started 1-4, I view their season as a success. They were very close to the playoffs. Unfortunately, after that tie to the Giants, you go on a bye week, you come back at home, lose to the Giants. Could have gone very differently. Lost to San Francisco, lost to Cleveland. It was just a tough way to end the season. And I don't know, man. People don't really talk too much about the Washington Commanders, so I want to talk about them. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. If you want more Washington videos, go ahead and let me know down below in the comment section. Let's try and get this video to 1,000 likes. But nonetheless, I like the position Washington is in. All right, and one thing I'm really learning, and I want to make the record perfectly clear, I'm a big fan of Taylor Heinicke. I love his leadership. I absolutely love his leadership. I feel like he gets his teammates going. His teammates love him. It's hard to not root for Taylor Heinicke. He's a stud, and he's a great person. Great player. Or actually, great might not be the best word. He's a good player, and he's a great competitor. But one thing I'm really learning, and I think it's becoming evidently clear right now with Philadelphia going up against Kansas City this year in the Super Bowl, is it's nice to have a good quarterback. You don't need a great quarterback to win and to get into the playoffs and to be a good football team, right? But if you want to get to the Super Bowl and if you want to eventually win the Super Bowl, having a great quarterback, it certainly helps. And the Carson Wentz situation, that it just completely backfired. It didn't work in any way, shape, or form. Sam Howell is nice. 5th round pick. He did win his one and only career start. And that's the trickiest position for me with Washington. It's I genuinely think they're a quarterback away and a couple of pieces on the offensive line away from legitimately making some noise. Now, they're in the same division as a bunch of playoff teams, and the Super Bowl team in Philadelphia. You have the Dallas Cowboys, you have the New York Giants, and I personally think with watching the Commanders this year, they held their own. This is a team that can certainly hold their own, and they weren't the most talented offense. So make a couple of tweaks on the offense. I anticipate in the draft, which, by the way, they do have some nice draft assets. You have the 16th pick in the first round. You have the 2nd round pick at 47, 3rd round pick at 97. You have a couple of 6th round picks. I anticipate they are going to go heavily into the offensive line. I wouldn't be surprised if they snagged quarterback, but I don't think it's, I'd be a little surprised, I guess. Cornerback position, that's a big need, but for the most part, this defense they're looking really good. Maybe a linebacker. We'll see what happens with Cole Holmcomb. He missed most of the season, was on the IR, but I anticipate him to be back. Day'Ron Sharpe, I think that's the center for the Brooklyn Nets. Daron Payne, he's kind of the big free agent, the big impending free agent. He's definitely going to have a bunch of teams interested in him. But for the most part, their defensive line is loaded. They have some nice pieces at the linebacker position. I love who they have at cornerback in Cam Curl and Derek Forrest. I even love the depth. Bobby McCain, I saw veteran presence there. I'm not too worried about the defense. You still have Kendall Fuller, but if they're going to draft, I think it's going to be some cornerbacks. I think it's going to be heavily offensive line because it's something that they need, man. It just genuinely is something what they need. Now, as far as cap goes and going in the free agents, they have 32.8 projected cap space once Carson Wentz is released. That's dead middle at 16th most cap in the NFL. So you have some money to work with, that's for sure. But like I said, this is a playoff capable team. This is 100% a playoff caliber squad. But they got to figure out the quarterback. You got to figure out the offensive line, and you got to figure out the quarterback. So we'll wait and see. I'll keep you guys updated with anything that goes on. A name I've been seeing floated around a lot is Andy Dalton. Given the vets on Washington in the last couple of years, I'm not a huge fan of the Andy Dalton idea. But like I said, we'll wait and see what happens. Let me know what you guys think about signing a longer vet like an older vet in Andy Dalton. I do like, I've seen some like Trey Lance possible trades. I don't know. Washington's in an interesting spot because you could go old veteran and mentor a young quarterback. You could go young quarterback, have them figure it out, or you could go somewhere in between the middle and try and make a big time splash. Maybe even a more low-key guy like Derek Carr. I don't think I've actually seen a single Derek Carr to Washington. He's got a big salary, so that's probably not in Washington's best interest. But, a player around there, right? So we'll wait and see. They always could trade up for a quarterback, but for the most part, this is a really deep quarterback draft. Even Jalen Hurts was drafted in the second round when they still had Carson on the squad. So, I don't think Washington needs to trade up for a quarterback. It's just my personal opinion. But on the offense, for their statistics, which, they came 12th in rushing offense, which was nice, but they came in 22nd in passing yards. In total, they came in 24th in total offense, with just 18.9 points per game. So outside of the offensive line and outside of the quarterback position, I do think they have a bunch of young, enticing pieces, and you already have some established playmakers on your team, like Terry McLaurin. He had another phenomenal season. This guy had 77 catches, about 1,200 yards. It's 15.5 yards per reception. That was very impressive. Jahan Dotson, the rookie, he was very impressive, especially later on in the season. He had 35 catches for 523 yards, about 15 yards per reception right there, and 7 touchdowns. So you do have 2 really nice playmakers, and don't forget about Curtis Samuel. I think he was severely underutilized pretty much once Carson was no longer starting quarterback, once he got injured. 64 catches, 656 yards, and 4 touchdowns. We know he's versatile in both sides, running and catching. But when you look at it, they need to use him better next year. Like 100% he's the 9th highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. In his first 9 games, 45 catches, 390 yards. That works for me. Last 8 games, 19 catches, 201 yards. That does not work for me. We also saw his rushing yards in the first half of the season go from 122 and the second half down to 65. So I highly anticipate that is going to be something they heavily focus on in just preparation for next season. And maybe a change, or I guess a change in quarterback will probably have some type of effect. Hopefully it's positive. I anticipate it'll be positive. Tight end position is another one of those. I like Logan Thomas. I really do. I didn't see enough from him this past season to be solidified in wanting him to be a tight end 1. So that is something to keep in mind. There are always some studs, some day 1 ready starters later on, outside of the first round in the NFL draft. And there are some nicer names in tight end free agency, more low-key guys, but capable starters, guys like Robert Tonyan, for example. But that's pretty much it. There are some holes to fill out on the defense, maybe the cornerback position, the payday, the linebacker position. But for the most part, their defense is pretty damn loaded, and it's young as well. So I think they're going to fill out the offensive line, and we'll wait and see what happens at the quarterback position. I completely forgot to even mention Brian Robinson Jr.'s name. So no worries with the run game, because he only played 12 games this year, but he had 205 attempts, 800 total yards, a couple of touchdowns. But it's hard to even look at statistics for a running back where your offensive line just is not great. So let me know what you guys think about this, I guess, kind of just broad Washington Commanders offseason preview. I will keep posting Commanders videos at least a couple of times a week, so be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button, and most importantly, go ahead, what do you guys want to see the Commanders do this free agency and draft? Peace.